meeting. If you could please first stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have an extremely long agenda tonight, and as much as Nancy would like to beat the town board's record of 2:30 in the morning, we're gonna try to speed things along the best we can.
Oh, yeah.
Please be patient with us. All right, first we got correspondence. Anybody want to comment on anything there?
No correspondence, no comment.
Counselor?
No comment.
No. None?
Nothing.
Okay, the meeting minutes of August 12th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Lazy today.
Okay, we'll move into the regular portion of the meeting. First on the agenda, we have the Crystal Court subdivision. This is a request for a time extension and reapproval. Location is Crystal Court.
Good evening, everyone. John Barilli and Louis Pani for Pan Bar Realty. We're just looking to get extensions and reapprovals for the subdivision. I think we let a couple lapse in between, so we're trying to get them all brought up to date.
Any issues online?
We have no issues.
Counselor? No, Mr. Chair. Was this Lewis's fault?
More than likely.
No, that's what we expected.
It usually is.
It's terrible. Any issues from the board?
None here.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
You're all set.
Motion's only the second.
Okay, next we have EnviroGreen Associates. This is a request for a reapproval. Locations East Main Street, Mohegan Lake.
Good evening.
Sabrina.
Hi. Joseph Arena, Principal Site Design Consultants. We're asking for a reapproval. Just as an aside, we're gonna be coming in with an amended site plan in the near future. But at this point, we need to continue our existing approval.
Any issues, John?
No issues, no.
Counselor? No, Mr. Chair. Issues from the board?
None.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very much.
All right, Joe. Okay, next we have Curry Honda. This is a public informational hearing. Location 3845 Compound Road. Just if I could, show of hands, who in the audience is here to see this application? It's not a big hit, huh? All right.
Good evening, Joel Greenberg from Architectural Visions, Marty Skatescale, my associate from Architectural Visions. We appeared before the Architectural Review Board last week, and I believe you should have their comments.
You gotta
Oh.
open the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
No, they aren't here to keep
What
you in
happened
line.
there? Sorry, I motion to open the public informational hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, basically, if you have a copy of their memo from last week, it's divided into several categories. First, the exterior facade, which they seem to like the image program that Honda has put out. It's basically going out throughout the country, and we are doing our part. The board seemed to feel that the new image program was a plus for the neighborhood and for the area in which Honda is located. And they also reviewed the landscape plan too. And we made a couple of changes that we think that they had recommended. So I think we're in good shape, and we'll answer any questions.
I appreciate you guys doing the work on the landscape plan. I think the last time they were in front of us, they showed the architecturals.
And now we've actually made a full landscape plan.
Is there anything you could share with the public on the screen?
Do you have the? Do you have the file?
So when you guys were here last, while we're waiting for that, we talked about you removing all the hedges in the
Yes.
front and adding the three
Correct.
parking spots for the
Right, the
vehicles. that
display
you-
pads, yeah.
I think you guys done a real nice job dressing that up.
Thank you.
It's gonna be a nice addition to 202,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially with the architectural work. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
So, in front of the showroom, we have a mixture of grasses, down low in front of the showroom windows, in front of parking space three through 8. And then as we get over to the display pads you were just speaking about, we've got, a couple of trees there, in between the 3 pads, and then we have some low, holly hedges and some grasses around that. Try to soften that area and add a little more interest than just the grass that was there, and also removing the old hedge that was there, as you mentioned,
Also, we're gonna remove the crabgrass too.
hopefully.
But anyway, I think Marty's point is well taken. That whole front area, which is unfortunately was crabgrass, is gonna be really landscaped very, very well with the 3 display cars, and it's really gonna make that whole front now, whole frontage that the Honda place has on 202, really make it, improve it, and make it very pleasing, and I think we'll be fitting into the area very nicely.
And this project is because Honda is changing the. way
Yeah, they're doing a whole new image program throughout the
Yeah.
country, but, you know, each dealership has a little difference, and we want to make the front area, that landscape area in front of the canopy, really spruced up and really attractive.
And outside the aesthetics, are there any changes at all that the public should know about?
No, basically, it's all exterior, and I think we have the elevation, where's the, do you have the elevation that we, won't get that on the screen?
Oh, this is the rendering.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have the color rendering, Ian, in here?
Rich?
Yeah.
This is related to that, right? This one? Here, just touch on it at the end.
It's the last one.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
This is a prototype rendering from Honda Corporate. The difference in ours would be that the dealer name and the Honda sign are a mirror image of this. And in their prototype, they have the entrance door on the left. We're going to keep it in the center of the building where it currently is. And we're going to keep the existing glass that's there and work with the existing building that we have, but try to match the look that they're looking for in their corporate image.
anything on your end, John?
Nothing at this time, no.
Counsel?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Members of the board?
Nothing?
We do have one email I'll read, but first I want to go to the audience. Does anybody want to speak to the application? Okay, and this application has nothing to do with the solar at this point.
No,
Separate
absolutely.
applications. All right, just, we did get an email from Rose DeGiglio, I believe her pronounced her name?
Yes.
You're familiar with this?
We just got
We
it.
just got a
Okay.
copy.
She says, I am sorry I'm not able to attend in person, but I would like to request that the construction be done in accordance with the town's noise ordinance, which I hope absolutely
course it
would
will.
be.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course we are, yeah.
And perfectly ending by 7 PM, when young families are nearby trying to get kids settled down for the evening. She lives nearby, and a few times, well past 11 PM, there've been a lot of loud sounds coming from a Honda lot. It sounds like metal being dumped, or could possibly be a garbage pickup. It is unclear if Honda is a Honda issue or a garbage company issue. Anyway, if you could
It's
please.
Probably
Probably
neither.
garbage.
It's, garbage is during the day, and Honda's not open at 11 PM, so it's probably thieves going and stealing the metal to sell it.
That's
Seriously,
unfortunate.
that's unfortunate, but it's true.
Unfortunately, you've heard about people stealing copper from construction sites.
Yeah.
They're stealing metal. So we'll look into what we can do to
Well,
stop
to
that.
try to secure, during construction or during actually all the time, to try to secure the place so that they can't get in so easily just to do what they have to do.
I'm sure as a part of this project, there'll be cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But yes, as far as the, this woman's comments, there'll be no construction and no noise well before, I mean, construction will be done before, way before 7 o'clock.
Okay, anything else?
Nope. Nope.
All right, then, do I have a motion to close the public informational hearing for Curry Honda?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much.
What's our next step?
I'll have to set up the regular hearing.
To set up for October?
Good.
I guess you can set it up.
Okay, you're all set.
So the meeting,
They'll
Public
reach out to
hearing?
you for October, yeah?
okay, thank you very
Keep
much.
in touch with Robin in the office, okay?
Got it. All right,
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if I mess up this next one. Next, we have the T-Town campus renovations. This is a public informational hearing, location 1600 Spring Valley Road. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing,
Motion.
public informational hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
If I could also take a show of hands, who is here in reference to this application? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrew Tung from DTS Provident on behalf of Teton Lake Reservation. With me this evening, Alan Sorkin and Dan Rozell from T-Town and Mark Ratz from my office. Before we begin, I'd like Alan to say a few words about the background and context for this project.
Sure. For the benefit of the public who might not have heard of T-Town, we are a nonprofit organization. Since the early 1960s, we have been working to inspire generations to care about the natural world. We're the largest community-funded nature preserve in Westchester County with over 1,000 acres under active management. Our mission is to inspire lifelong environmental stewardship in the community. And for decades, we've been sharing our love of the environment by preserving land, teaching people of all ages about the environment, running an environmental summer camp, and reaching out to Westchester's underserved communities. Our buildings are aging, the infrastructure needs improvement, and T-Town embarked on a historic campaign to improve our campus. We're seeking 4 primary objectives with this project. 1, to maintain the health of our preserve. 2, to strengthen our longstanding commitment to environmental education with a focus on indoor-outdoor classrooms. 3, invest in our aging infrastructure and buildings, including improving our carbon footprint and energy efficiency. And 4, to create a more safe and ADA-accessible environment for the public. We're looking to enhance our mission, not expand it, and the volume of our programs we expect to maintain and stay basically the same. We've engaged who we consider the best in the field when it comes to environmentally sound and sustainable construction, and architects, which is a well-known firm out of Brooklyn, 2-star White House landscape architects, which are working on the campus itself, and 3, DTS Provident, and Andy and Mark are here represent them today. So we believe we have a sound and environmentally sound plan with a great story to tell. And we're proud of this plan and hope you will see that we believe it leaves the land much better than it is today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. On the board is a rendered illustrative plan of the campus. This application concerns 5 parcels, 3 north of Spring Valley Road and 2 south of Spring Valley Road that form the core of the campus from which many of the trails emanate. There are 3 primary components to the site changes that are part of this renovation. 1 has to do with the separation of the education function from the other functions that are currently in the carriage house and the nature center that are just off Spring Valley Road on the north side. Right now, that education program shares space with the exhibit space, the gathering space, the staff space, the store, and also some animal care facilities. That causes at times overlap of people, places, and things. And so moving forward, T-Town has determined that it is in the best interests of both the educational program and the visitation program if the educational function could be separate. And so what is being proposed is the creation, and let me zoom in a little here. So down here at the bottom in white outline are the Nature Center and the carriage house near Spring Valley Road. What's proposed is a new 5,900 square feet, single-story education building that will be set in the center of the north side of Spring Valley Road at the current location of the Red Barn, which is a maintenance facility, and the staff parking area, which, given its location in the center of activity, is not really the prime spot for those types of functions. That maintenance function will move south to the new, to a new small maintenance building adjacent to the Croft Science Center in the former footprint of a old tennis court. And in its place, as I mentioned, a single-story education building with a green roof, with geothermal heating system, and classrooms both indoors and outdoors to serve not only the classes that come during the school year, students that come during the school year, but also the camp that Alan mentioned that occurs during the summer. The second primary change to the site will be the creation, just to the north of that brown building, of a bus drop-off loop that will bring students directly to the new education building from a shared driveway at Blinn Road that's now shared with the Blinn Road parking lot. Today, those bus drop-offs occur at the front of the building or in the main parking lot adjoining the Nature Center. They sometimes occur across the street in the south parking lot, and there's opportunity, although staff is very cognizant of when those buses come and go, and so they can help direct. But there's opportunity for potential conflicts at times. So by separating that bus drop-off function to the north, the area around the Nature Center itself can be basically directed towards visitor reception and then activities after people arrive at the center. The third main component is the main parking lot itself, which is just to the west of the Nature Center. That is now being removed because it's no longer needed for bus drop-off. It only had a limited number of spaces. Those parking spaces will be relocated across Spring Valley Road to the south, and a new crosswalk and pedestrian warning signals will be located along Spring Valley Road to the west and the east to improve that pedestrian circulation and create a better environment for reception of visitors. There are also a lot of associated improvements. As Alan mentioned, we're looking to make accessible many of the pathways and trails around the center, directly around the center. There will be stormwater management improvements. There will be additional landscaping added of a native variety in and around the buildings. The Nature Center itself will undergo a facelift and a complete interior renovation that's associated with that reallocation of function within this space. So those are the primary components of the proposed plan.
Thank you. Questions from the board at this point?
None here? None?
I have nothing.
Council? I will say, we walked the site some time ago with members of the board. I think this is going to be an excellent redo of the complex. I think everybody here is in agreement. We really look forward to moving ahead. That being said, anybody from the public want to comment on the application? Don't all get up at once. Okay.
Sold.
Anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay. So I have a motion to close the public informational hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll work with Robin to get you set up for the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the list, we have the Ryder subdivision. This is a public hearing. Location's 532 Underhill Avenue. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, Josephine, the principal of Site Design Consultants. Representing Andrew and George Ryder. We're proposing a subdivision. With me tonight is George Ryder, one of the property owners, and Steve Marino, our environmental consultant on the project. The property is located at 532 Underhill Avenue. Was previously a residence on the property that was abandoned and that has now been removed. It's owned 1 acre, R140, and we're proposing to subdivide it into 2 properties. The entry point to the project will be from the existing driveway that was previously, that's been in place for the original home. As you can see by the site plan, essentially the driveway is almost to the far left corner of the property, and it swings in. It will be a common driveway shared by both proposed residences. The property is served by town water and septic system. The septic systems have been tested and the areas approved by the Westchester County Department of Health. There is some local wetland on the property, which Steve will go into detail on. And as we discussed at a previous meeting, the tree removal permit will be sought at the time of construction of each individual residence or any of the other improvements on the property. There's a stormwater basin proposed in the front left-hand corner of the property, and we have prepared a SWIP, which has been also submitted as part of our application. At this point, I'm going to have Steve step in and give you the lowdown on the mitigation and wetlands.
Thank you. Good evening, Steve Marino, Tim Miller Associates. As we discussed in the past, there is a wetland at the lowest point of the property adjacent to Underhill Avenue, generated by runoff coming down the hill. It's blocked at the street by the slightly higher elevation of the road, and for many years it's been maintained as lawn. So it's currently, that's the condition it's been in for a long time. Bruce Barber and I walked the site several times a few years back, and that's how we came up with the final wetland delineation. So again, it's maintained as lawn. What we're proposing, as you can see, the pink area, pink orangish area on the plan there is the proposed crossing of the driveway to access the residence for the second lot. So there will be some small amount of wetland fill there in order to complete that driveway. What we're proposing is an expansion of the existing wetland between the new driveway and the existing wetland, restoration of the existing wetland by ceasing of mowing on a regular basis and reseeding of the area with wetland seed, as well as the landscaping of the proposed rain garden stormwater basin in a manner that's consistent with wetlands and stormwater treatment basins. Typical native species used in the plantings. I think the restoration of the wetland there to the east of the driveway will be a significant benefit to the wetland system on the site as well.
Have you been in front of the Conservation Board yet?
We went, yes.
Any issues?
No.
Any issues from the board?
Not here.
John?
No issues. I suggest there's some thought about making the boundary of the wetland in the lot's front yard, maybe with a stone wall or something, so that doesn't slowly become
Incremental creep.
right.
Right.
So some kind of delineation.
Yeah.
I think that's something we've done in the past. Anybody from the public have any concerns, comments, questions? And just so you know, sometimes these things seem like they go fast in front of us. Just for point of reference, we first saw this in 2013. So this has been bouncing around a bit. We've probably done multiple site
Yeah.
visits
Oh,
at this point, and so I don't want anybody to think we're just rushing this through, but it's been here for some time now.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Any issues on our end? Can we work the wall into the front?
Sure. We'll come up with some kind of a barrier, some kind of a separation.
Okay. Other than that, looks like a very nice application, very straightforward. Again, it's been here since 2015. 14, excuse me. Oh, no, 13. All right. Again, yes,
I'm the owner. It's been a long haul, but thank you for your time and efforts.
all right.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, so I have a motion to close the
Motion.
public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Good luck
very
to you.
much.
All right.
In 10 years, we'll cross the bridge.
Next on the agenda, we have 209 Sandpiper Court. This is a discussion of site plan. Location is the same.
May want to move to go into work session, Mr.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm really slipping today.
I've got it
Very,
coming for.
the last few days have been very rough.
Can we get Aaron on Zoom or something?
Well, Aaron doesn't believe in the work session.
Oh, that's true.
He thinks there should just be one meeting.
Right.
So I have a
I'm
motion-
taking advantage of his absence to say that.
Thank you very much. So I have a motion to move to the work session.
Motion. Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm Eileen Montesinos, my husband Arturo. We didn't even realize we needed to be at this meeting until about 3 days ago.
Okay.
Nobody told us. This plan to extend our deck has been in process since May, I think. And sometime in June, I was in John Tegeter's office. I showed him the plan for the deck, and basically I left there thinking, because his words were, "I give you my blessing," I left there thinking that all was said and done. And we found out recently that that isn't really the case. So I'm not sure what you need at this point. You should have the plan because it was dropped off with our contractor to the town for approval and signatures. And that was at least a month or two ago.
Are there any variances required here?
Well, this is Maplebrook Townhouse?
Right.
Townhouse, okay. So that's a cluster in which the setbacks are set by the site plan. And so this will extend into the setbacks that were set by the site plan. So
Do
we
have the site plan.
normally are doing a resolution that you guys, I don't want to call it a variance, but you're allowing the setback to be reduced from what was originally approved.
Do you know what those setbacks were?
Well, according to this, it was 5 and 15 feet.
We've actually reduced the deck down to 5 feet extension, not a 6-foot extension.
Right. So the setback will now be 10 feet in the backyard as opposed to 15.
And what's different about this application compared to other applications is because the planning board at the time of the project, for the development, we set the setback, so it doesn't have to go to ZBA, it just comes straight here.
Yes, essentially.
Any concerns?
I don't see any problem with it. I mean, if we said that we could set it again. We said it one time, we said it a second time.
Do the neighbors have anything like this?
No.
Different neighbors have had extensions.
Yeah, people have extended their decks in the past. We, 15 years ago, with permits, put stairs on our deck. So there have been changes made. There's another neighbor who has taken down all the railings on their deck, so people have changed things.
So this is just an extension of the existing deck?
That's correct.
So the stairs already actually come down.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Stairs
stairs are there.
It's not, the stairs are not being changed.
And that's 4 foot from the neighbor's line there. Do the neighbors, are they aware you're doing this?
Yes.
Any issues?
None.
Is anybody here, a neighbor? No? Any issues in your end, Counselor?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, then do I have a motion to open a special session?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
In front of us, we have a resolution approving a deck extension for 209 Sandpiper Court and the Maplebrook Townhouses. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Just ask to make sure everything goes through the building department, you get all your permits before you start.
It already has.
Everything's been done.
Do we need some sort of letter from you?
I would reach out to Robin
Okay,
and
We'll
they'll
send
get you
a
in.
memo to the building department.
okay, and then a copy to, CC to us? All right, thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, this is gonna be interesting, because we have someone in from Zoom for the next application, so.
We gotta go back in the work session.
Oh, yes, okay, thank you. Can I close the special session, please?
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm slipping. Sergio's not here tonight. Susan is. I think I might get fired.
You get fired, huh?
All right, just give us one moment to set this up, please. Just for a show of hands, anybody here on the Foothill application? Okay,
All right, so, can you hear us, Jay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Thank you for being accommodating for this Zoom. I'm on a business conference, so I really appreciate it. But yes, so this project here is 3849, the Foothill Street Solar Project. I'm the representative for Northeast Ecology. We're working on the approximately 7-acre mitigation area just north of Foothill Street there. And we wanted to make some slight substitutions to the mitigation plan. And do you want me to share my screen here to kind of walk through the plan? Is that helpful? Or?
please,
Okay.
thank you.
I think you have to enable screen sharing. It's saying host is disabled. I think it's working now, it looks like.
There you go.
All right. Are you able to see my screen now?
We are.
Okay. So here's the original mitigation plan from August of 2022. And what I did is I took this mitigation plan and just made some slight substitutions. I left everything pretty much in the same spot. I didn't, change it all too much. But what I essentially did was there was a total of 86 trees that were going to be planted that were 2.5-inch calibers. And problem is that the site, being that there's such a mature forest there already existing, and that there's such large boulders and stuff, and able to plant these large 2.5-inch caliber trees, we would have to bring in large equipment and remove some of the existing cover and overstory forest canopy. And to do so, we believe that would cause a proliferation of invasive species, because invasive species, as soon as there's canopy opening and there's sunlight for them, that causes them to proliferate. So being that the site already has great canopy there, and that's preventing some of the invasive species from spreading, we don't want to open the canopy anymore. So I'll move to my plan here. And what I did is I replaced those 2.5-inch caliber trees with 5-gallon trees, which would probably be about 1.5-inch in caliber in diameter. And what we did is, being that they're slightly smaller, we increased the density by 1.5 times. So you can see the density here is a little bit tighter in between the trees here. As you can see here in the legend, that's the existing tree line. So we're trying to fit in, all those tree saplings kind of within that existing canopy there. So that would be pretty much the main change for the trees. Also, being that it is such a heavily forested area, some of the tree species that were originally selected are tree species that are more conducive to grow in high light conditions. So because of that, we wanted to swap out sweet birch, pignut shagbark, and mockernut hickory, black locust, and American linden with some different types of tree species: Allegheny serviceberry, American hornbeam, and then we're also going to add in some yellow birch, and then we're going to just increase the quantity on some of the other tree species like red maple and whatnot. Do you have any questions before I move over to what the changes planned are for the shrubs?
Any questions?
No questions.
Have you guys been out to the site?
We haven't been out to this site recently, no. We've seen this plan, we had a meeting with Jay.
Okay.
The only thing that we talked about was in increasing the density of the number of plantings, we want to make sure that you're not, when they reach maturity, that they're not
Choking each
other out. So that's one thing that I think should be looked at moving forward. If you fit the 1.5 in there and they can reach maturity, then fine. But if not, I think it can and should be reduced so that they're not competing with one another.
How is this gonna impact any immediate visual?
No.
John, what's the reason for the change?
The reason for the change is that with the 2.5-inch caliper tree, they're fairly large. You need larger equipment. You will possibly compromise some of the existing trees by running over the root system and so on and so forth a number of times. Secondly, what was the second one?
He said just opening the canopy and letting invasives grow then if you're...
When you scratch up the surface, you tend to invite invasives in. Okay. So this will reduce that disturbance and therefore reduce the possibility of invasive species gaining a foothold.
He said that the trees need like 3-foot by 3-foot holes with all the boulders that are in
Right. And these are primarily for screening?
No.
No.
They're not.
This is the mitigation for the tree removal.
Oh, okay. So it's not screening, so
Right.
there is no impact on what
Right.
we have seen
No,
previously.
this is enhancing the existing forested area that's remaining on site.
Got it.
All right, why don't you go on, please?
All right, thank you. Then with the shrubs, what we're going to do is we had about 2,000 shrubs that were planned to be planted, but it's the same issue there with, all those large boulders. I believe the landscape architect, when they designed this, they didn't understand, how much boulders were on site, because when you actually take a look at the site and start digging and stuff, there's probably only about half of the site that's actually available for planting because it's so filled with boulders and stuff. And because of that, we want to reduce the shrub quantity by 1/2 because we don't want them competing against one another. I mean, we could plant them at the density that is planned, but we think that at that density, they're going to be competing with each other quite a bit, being that, there's so many rocks on site, and we're going to have to kind of squeeze them into the site where the boulders are non-existent. And then on top of that, with the shrubs, there's also a couple species replacements. For one, they had a couple like ornamental varieties that they planned to plant, like Ruby Spice Summer Sweet. That's more of an ornamental variety, but the point of this whole project is to plant native species. So we kind of want to replace that Ruby Spice Summer Sweet variety with just a native variety. Same for the Bailey red dogwood. We want to change that as well. And then there's like 2 other changes. Common elderberry, we want to just replace that with a little bit more additional spice bush that were already planned to be planted, just because there's so much existing canopy at the site. Some of the shrubs that were planned to be planted are more sun-loving shrubs, and they're just not going to do as good as some of the shade-tolerant shrubs.
So did I hear you say that you're going to reduce the number of plantings by half?
Yes, it would be reduced by half.
And so as this is part of a mitigation plan, what becomes of the other half?
What was that again? Sorry.
Can you say it again?
Oh, so since this is part of a mitigation plan, what's the plan for that other half?
It's pretty much going to be, they're all going to be planted in the exact same area. It's just, for instance, in this area, if you were planning to plant 50 of the species, they would be reduced to 25, just because there's boulders within there and you can't really fit quite as many as was originally planned because of that. So it'd still all be, you know, planted in the same areas and everything like that. It would just be reduced the quantity by 1/2.
Right, so again, this is part of mitigation, right? So I believe the quantity of plantings is at a point here. So there's 25 trees remaining in your example. Where will they go?
Yes, hold on. I'm not sure I'm following you. You're saying you're saying 25 trees remaining in the.
No, I think what he's trying to get at is this is part of a mitigation plan. Because you're looking to reduce the number, obviously this was done looking at the entire site. So you're cutting the number of shrubs in half. That's obviously impacting the intent of the mitigation plan. What is your intent if you're removing these, where these boulders are, which I guess were dug up during the course of construction?
No,
They're just,
it's a forest there.
This site is trying to be like it was not being disturbed at all. That's the thing at this site. It's not part of the construction part of the solar project. It's a standalone mitigation area. We're trying to restore the forest and allow native species to thrive and remove all the invasive species within the site. So there's already a good amount of native species growing, some native shrubs, some spice bush and everything like that. So we're just, kind of supplementing the native species that are already on site with these additional native species that we're planting as the understory species. So they're still going to thrive and everything. But, if we were going to plant them at the density that this plan says here, then they're going to compete against each other and they're not going to do as good. Whereas if we reduce the density by 1/2, then they're going to thrive and there's going to be enough spacing for each plant that allows them to, take up the entire site still. It's not like there's going to be gaps, with the site. There's going to be as many shrubs as we could fit on the site based on the site conditions.
So, John, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is the mitigation plan, the quantity of plantings, is that a formula that has been derived and they've come up with whatever number of plantings?
No. I'm sorry?
We subtracted the cost of the original plantings from the tree bank fund payment.
Okay.
Right?
For trees. Okay, this is the understory shrubbery. So there's really no formula. Even with the trees, you have to remember that there is a formula. And how that would work is if you have a 10-inch diameter tree, there's a formula that you would have to plant 2-inch caliper trees, probably 8 of them or something, for each tree, about 10 inches. So that's the formula. It's impossible to do on the same site. Obviously, the point is that, in this case, the point is to enhance the forest. That's what the mitigation is for, to enhance the quality of the forest. So Jay Kaminsky is telling you or suggesting to you that you're going to do this in a higher quality way if you actually reduce what's on this plan, because they will thrive and survive. They're more likely to survive than if you cram in all of these shrubs. So I think that's the point of the shrubbery at the very least. And we just talked about the trees, which is a similar situation. He's able to increase the density of the number of trees, but again, I think we should be careful that that we just don't let it be about numbers.
Right.
That it has to be about, the true enhancement of the quality of the
real
forest.
function.
Yeah, real function. So.
Is there any way we could take some of this shrubbery and add to the front visual?
Yeah, if there's room to do it, I mean, that can be looked at, yeah.
I'd rather, if it's gonna work, I'd rather see it go
Yeah,
front.
of course.
All right, so can you look at that with John and Rob and see if that works?
Yeah, so you're thinking of taking some of the shrubs and placing them at like a different location?
Yes.
Like at,
Yeah.
Another
and is that
appropriate
by the
location.
solar site or is that within the mitigation area here?
At the solar site.
Okay. Yeah, I can work with John and Rob and we could definitely discuss that.
All right, and when you're on site, probably wouldn't be a bad idea if we saw one of these sites under construction, and you could let us know, we could have a visit with you.
This one is under construction.
Yeah, it might be a good idea, especially with the moratorium and some of the other stuff we have in front of us.
So the point here tonight is to be able to accept the change in the trees, and also, I think, accept the change in the shrubs species, so that they can move forward and do an order. Because planting time is, end of planting time is approaching.
Yeah.
Sounds good to
Does
me.
anybody have an issue?
No, no issue here.
All right, but as sooner than later, if that visit can take place, just to make sure
Yeah.
we are in the planting season, anything can be enhanced up front.
And then isn't this the location where it borders the school?
Yeah, and they,
And there was some correspondence about runoff and so forth. Can some of these shrubs be utilized to address potential erosion or we're gonna have to address that issue perhaps in a couple of ways, but.
We can take a look at that.
all right. Has Dan seen that, by the way?
No.
No, see, I said the drainage.
Oh, yeah, he's working on that, yes.
Okay,
Do you, wait a second,
okay.
so you're good with this
I think
mitigation?
we're good with that.
Yeah.
All right, so I would move forward. Please work with John and Robin in the field to see how we can get that to work along the front end of the project, if possible.
That sounds great.
And
Thank you very
we'll,
much.
we'll do a memo that, that you're accepting the change in the species and the tree
That's fine.
sizes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being accommodating while I'm away, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.
Send the Zoom. Susan, I want to know for the record that Sergio just got here. He should be docked pay for this.
I'm just here on my own.
All right, thank you, Robin. Next on the agenda, we have the Griage subdivision. This is a discussion of a major subdivision. The location is Stony Street.
Hello, back again.
How you doing?
Okay, good. Here tonight is the owner of the property, Nick Grishai, as Steve Marino is also here. Nick is back there. So when we were last before you, we had a public hearing, which was closed, and we received some comments, which we addressed. And we are, with this, received a copy of a draft resolution today.
Does everything look all right in this? Anything to add, John?
No, I don't think so. I just have one question, which I know that we've talked about before, Joe and I. I just want to make sure that the new outfall that you're creating to feed the new wetland, that it is going to get to the places that you're showing on the plans, and I'm talking about the swale that's on this property that kind of mirrors the other swale that's off property, goes along the western edge and then makes a hard turn to the right and goes east. So if you would talk about that, I hope that what we have here is going to, function properly. That's basically it.
You want to talk about how you graded that?
Yeah, I mean, that was a comment that we had heard before and listened to, and we did make some adjustments to the grading in that mitigation area of the wetland, and rearranged the pipe, relocated the pipe slightly more to the west, so that the grading coming into the wetland will be picking up that runoff and directing it right into the new mitigation area before it then spreads out through the remaining wetlands on the site and that conservation parcel that we're proposing. Yeah.
And then I thought maybe it would be a good idea to go through, for the board's benefit, some of the things that were found out there on the sort of the southeastern side. There was that farm tile there that was
Yeah.
flowing with some water and so forth, and
I know that John had mentioned that he had been out there and observed water coming out of an old farm drain. As you know, this was a farm parcel for a number of years. There was a barn essentially in the area where we're showing mitigation there on the east side of the mitigation area. So it was actively farmed, and there was old drainage out there, and there is a drainage point, drainage path in that southeast corner of the site. I've walked the site many, many times. I've never seen water flowing in there, but I don't doubt that there was water flowing in there after a storm event. When I was out there with Johanna from B&L, we walked the entire property, didn't have any discussion about whether that should be considered a regulated wetland. So I believe that it's just a drainage path that's there on the site due to subsurface drainage from who knows when or who knows where. Certainly when that area is excavated for residences, provision's gonna have to be made for taking care of that water as it moves through the site. But again, from regulated area standpoint, you know, it hasn't been identified before.
And so your deep tests, did you encounter water in them?
Did we encounter water in our deep test?
Yeah, in that area.
I'd have to look, but if if we did, we would have compensated for them with our stormwater system.
Counselor, anything on your end? No, Mr. Chair. Anything from the board? Nothing. I will say that I know when we had the hearings, there were two concerns from the residents that neighbored this. One was drainage and the second was traffic. Obviously, as this takes place, we'll hope that, and Dan's not here, I don't think he was in and out. We could put a note that that should be looked at in the field as they move forward. Okay, that being said, we have, let me get back to it. At the open special session, right?
Yep.
See that? A little bit late in the game, but I'm catching up. Do I have a motion to open to a special session, please?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
In front of us, we have a neg deck for the aforementioned property. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And then we have in front of us a resolution approving a preliminary subdivision layout for the Griage subdivision. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to close the special session?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We're all set.
Thanks very much.
All right, guys.
Good night.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Okay, next we have the MJM subdivision. Discussion of major subdivision locations, 3232 Gomer Street. Rob, we did that site visit last February. Oh, wait, 23, yeah, right? Time flies.
This is the first time they're back since then, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see. Public informational closed on 9/11, 23. Yeah, it's been a minute.
While Joe's getting ready with the plans, one thing I've had to deal with is we had a comment letter from B&L, town's consultants, questioning some areas of the wetland delineation and asking us to check a few other spots. We did do that, went out in the field, checked 4 or 5 areas that they were concerned about that might be wetland or maybe that the delineation should be adjusted. We went out there, there were 3 areas where 2 of them off-site, and 1 over on the eastern part of the site. that required the moving of 3 or 4 flags, 5 or 6 feet, just to get everything right. And then there was one area on the west side of that kind of central wetland that they asked us to look at in a little more detail. I went out there and did another inventory of the plants in the area, as well as checking the soils in particular. And we did not find any wetlands in that area, or an expansion of the existing wetland in that area. And I got that report to the town, and we just got response from B&L that they concur with our conclusions in terms of expanding some areas and not including that last area. So we're all set with B&L as far as the delineation goes. And they did have some minor comments about potential mitigation with the road location as the plan moves forward.
So, the plan I have up on the screen now is the one which the public hearing was held on. It's based on the flexibility provisions that were granted to the planning board by the town board. So that this plan has 2 access points, one off of Gomer Street and the other off of Cordial Road, with 7 lots being off of Gomer Street and 6 lots off of Cordial Road. We had done alternatives, which early on, this was one of the alternatives that we had done early on. Coming in off of London Road on a deeded town right away. Coming in the road, splitting in each direction, no connection to Gomer Street, no connection to Cordial Road. This plan was previous to the flexibility standards being granted, so it could be tweaked some more to tighten up some of the lots and reduce some of the impacts. As you can see, we would be going through the wetland with this at the toe of the wetland. But we feel that there's ample, if the board is interested in going in this direction, we feel that there's ample opportunity on the property, especially on the east side of the property, to do mitigation. Another variation of this has the same approach, except this connects through to Gomer Street, so you actually have 2 access points to the property. So I think we're at the point where to move, we've established the wetland line, we've established the extent of it. We can easily see what the impacts are gonna be if we choose any of these alternatives. And I think we would like to just know what direction the board would like to go with. We don't have a preference, but we would like some direction. I think that's really where we're at.
I appreciate that. So, it's been some time since this has been back, and the reason is we were dealing with wetland delineation, it sounds like?
Right, we were waiting for B&L to get out and do their study and their report, and we got a report back from them back in January, I think.
Yeah.
And Steve needed to go back out there, but with the amount of rain that we were getting over those few months, it didn't seem to make sense to go out there and, in a condition which wasn't realistic in a sense because of the amount of rain. So we waited till we had a little bit of a more stable weather pattern and weather system out there, and then Steve went out there and delineated the wetland, which is represented on this plan now.
Going back to the 2 plans, I remember, if I remember correctly, Cordial Road, did the highway superintendent have an issue there? Paganelli?
It's a narrow road, right?
Cordial's narrow. This would be
Right, there
compliant.
there was a concern with the, how narrow Cordial Road, Cordial Road is, correct.
Right.
Right.
And it's slope. There was an issue with the slope too.
That seemed to be the prevailing theme in the PIH and from the neighbors, and that was Dave Paganelli's, also his opinion.
Okay. And the Gomer Street, I think the neighbors across the street were concerned about the access, I think, in front of the one resident's house, and they were concerned about safety. That's all I remember on the, right, outside of traffic on Cordial. Can you go back to that other plan real quick?
The one we were connecting through or not connecting through?
You were running through.
That one?
Yeah.
That's
So-
two, one off of Gomer and one off of London.
Yeah. And I remember when we were out there, I mean, that area was very wet. And it tied into the London Road.
You mean this area down here where we're crossing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this area drains into a culvert.
Yep.
That's piped through the development and comes out, I think in a detention pond or something that's further downstream. So that's the termination point of that wetland before it
Okay.
gets piped.
And the lot count from this compared to the prior?
They're the same.
So, I mean, I know the highway superintendent had an issue with Cordial.
He must still have it.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. This, there's no issue because it goes on to Gomer. So we have an opinion, I think they're looking for an opinion one way or the other, which way to kind of. There is only 3 members of the board here tonight, just.
That's fine, and I think I wouldn't object to waiting to the next meeting.
Yeah.
If you want to have more board members here to get more opinion, as long as it doesn't get kicked way down the road, but.
And it's been, obviously, this has been sitting for a minute.
Yeah, it has.
All right, so we want to make sure we pay attention to it. I just would like the opportunity to talk to Dave Paganelli, just to make sure that whatever his concerns were, that we,
Because if you remove the access from Gomer, then you basically have a
Oh.
13-home, with no outlet, no additional emergency access or.
I mean, we could create, an emergency outlet on this plan going out to Cordial. And, I mean, if we went with the next plan, hold on. Yeah, this one here, we could create an emergency
Access point?
access point through here and out to Cordial if that were necessary. We could do the same thing on the Gomer Street end too. It would be a little steeper on the Gomer Street end, but it could be.
You got stuff.
Hello.
it's electric animals.
So I think that some analysis would probably help. So as I recall, the issue with Cordial Road was its width.
Yeah.
Okay, but I know that it tapers. So when you first turn into Cordial, it's probably standard width, maybe even a little wider. So I think we should know where it's actually necking down and to what degree it's necking down and where the grade starts. I think the grade issue starts after this proposed connection. Isn't that correct?
I believe so, and I think even the taper might be either right at this connection or right past this connection.
So I think that's information that you should have on a piece of paper that shows the road exactly as it sits today. Cordial.
I remember when I was with Rob when we did the walkthrough and we didn't want to go back that way because of the raccoon that was out there during the day.
Yeah.
But I just remember that road being, concerning, Cordial that is. So if you could, give us the opportunity to talk to Dave Paganelli, and if we could get something, maybe an overhead of that area, just to kind of depict maybe a very simple.
Yeah, we can show where that paper is, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And I also think you should have a comparison of the wetland and wetland buffer impacts for all three. You got that?
I already wrote it down, yeah.
Okay.
Certainly, we do have to fill wetlands in order to create this, because as you
Right.
mentioned, that area where the Y kind of takes off is quite a low point, and so there's fill plus grading that has to go on in that area. And the cul-de-sac at the end there gets relatively close to that wetland on the eastern side, so, you know, it's gonna be a little bit of a balancing act.
At this point, you know, like I said, we're looking for
You're looking for some
direction
direction.
before we really start to
Yeah.
put a lot of detail into this. And the issue is crossing the wetland or not crossing the wetland, in my mind. That's really what the issue is.
And I hear you, I just wanna make sure that whatever we do, that the highway superintendent is right with what we're deciding. So ultimately, it's gonna be their road, right? They're gonna be taking care of it. But if you can get those things, and I hear you, this has been sitting around a minute. I'm glad everything worked out with the consultant. But if you can get us those 3 quick sketches and the
Yeah.
information we look for.
Yeah, I don't think it's the case here, but with connections to Cordial and Gomer, we just want to look at if it creates any kind of potential cut-through. 'Cause
Oh, well, if you,
I don't think there's really a case here for that.
yeah, I mean, the first,
It would have to be this plan
with an emergency access.
with a permanent cut through.
Permanent, yeah, with permanent access.
Right, with a permanent, or, you know, another variation is the first plan or this plan connected through on both ends and going through the wetland, right, and not going through London. That's
Yeah.
a whole nother variation. That one doesn't make sense to me, because you, no need to cross the wetland.
Right. Then you could do the 2 cul-de-sacs.
You could just do the 2 cul-de-sacs, right. That would be the only, I think, time that you would have that situation.
So if you can get it that bit of information,
Get it right away.
and then next time, hopefully we have full board. But honestly, I mean, I really want to hear what Paganelli's got to say.
Also, Joe, is it possible to do, you know, a estimate of what the trip generation would be?
Yeah, we could do that, sure.
You know, and, you know, if you have,
Certainly, six homes going out towards Cordial isn't going to be a lot of trips, but.
well, whatever those true numbers are, I think would tell the story.
Okay?
Thank you.
We'll get you rolling.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, guys. I'll take care of that at the end. Yeah, just so we can go through, I don't want to keep anybody waiting for. All right, next up, we have Jacob Road Solar. This is a discussion of site plan and special use permit. How was everybody tonight?
Good. Yourself?
Good.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, David Cooper, partner with the law firm of Aaron and Steinmetz, here representing the applicant, Freestone Renewables. They are the contract leasee to purchase 15 acres of this parcel in the Featherbeds subdivision. I'll let them go
Yeah,
as we're
hang on
getting
one
ready.
second. If anybody has to have a conversation, if you could have it outside, please. Thank you.
Okay. With me tonight is Ryan Hutchinson from Freestone, back there, and you know Nicholas Bombas from Labella, the project engineers. Since the last meeting, we have met with staff, John and staff, to go through and identify locations primarily along the western side of the property where planting can be augmented to further limit views of the panels. We were originally proposing to plant a line of 10-foot tall trees. In other words, at planting, they would be 10 feet. Of course, they would grow as they get older. But the question was, well, are there locations along this western side where you could increase the planting height to 12 and increase or decrease the chances of any view of the panel from certain view sheds? So we did meet with John and staff to go through various locations, and we've now submitted places along the western side, essentially the western side, where planting could be augmented, where we would increase the initial planting height to 12 feet. That is, it does increase the cost whenever you ask for a taller tree like that because of one, trucking costs. Obviously, the taller the tree on the bed, the less they can fit on one truck. Also, the cost of the tree itself. So we were trying to find exactly where this would be necessary, rather than just throwing it all up. We're going to take you through first the landscaping plan, because also as part of the request, there was a request to identify the types of trees to be planted, the growth rates, et cetera. So you have all that information in front of you. And then Nick can go through the augmented areas where we are going to propose to plant 12-foot trees and see how that changes the line of sight views, which is what we were going through last time. After Nick goes through that, we can answer any questions. I also know that on your agenda tonight is the referral to your board about the zoning amendment with respect to solar. We would like to be heard on that, just in terms of what after we go through the plans, but just to show you why we believe the 200-foot setback, everything else about the proposal, we think actually meets the goal of increasing visual screening and meeting what I believe the town board is looking to do. But we want to talk about why that 200-foot setback itself, as you'll see through the proposals that we're showing tonight, is not necessary to achieve the screening that you would like. Actually, the visual impact mitigation is the planting. Really, that's how you can achieve, regardless of where the panels are, is to ensure that this can be screened so that you can't see it.
Councilor, hang on one second. I think, would it be more appropriate of any discussion of that? Because we generally don't let anybody speak during the works, outside what would be the town board here. Can we discuss that during this? Would that be appropriate during this application?
Discuss the
solar,
the referral.
What he just did.
And how would
I mean, at the end of the day, it's really a discussion about this application. We're happy to
That's what I'm
discuss
saying.
it.
It's right. How
But,
it would affect this.
yeah.
Is that appropriate?
Yeah. It's pertinent to this application. This application.
Why don't we do that?
Right. Let me go through. Let's go through the visual analysis first, and then I can come back to you on that.
Okay.
So, okay.
These drawings are great. Very helpful.
Thank you. My team will be very happy to hear that. Thank you so much. So like David was saying, with the suggestions of the board, we did modify the landscape plan. I'll start up here at the plant list itself. We're looking at 3 different species, white spruce, Fraser fir, and green giant arborvitae. We're also looking at a variety of planting heights. We're on the eastern side, where there's no expected visibility except perhaps from people walking the proposed trail through the site. We're limiting this to a 6-foot planting height, with the idea that that would screen the view of anyone walking alongside the array on the trail. On the north and on the west, we're looking at a little bit taller trees to screen views from our neighbors to the north and to the west. We're looking at a 10-foot height or so for white spruce, Fraser fir. And on the north, and in some instances on the west, the arborvitae would also be planted at 10 feet. But as David was saying, we did identify a few places along the west where a 12-foot tree height would be appropriate to ensure a full screening year-round. Also, at your request, we did add the average growth rate. And as you can see, the white spruce and Fraser fir, about 1 to 2 feet per year, and the arborvitae, 3 to 4 feet per year, according to our landscape architects. So for the plan itself, and just to refresh everyone, north is to the left on this plan. So on the top side here, we're east of the array. We're looking at planting 6-foot high Fraser fir and white pine, again, to screen views from the proposed trail right at the extent of our project limits here. Along the north, we would have a row of kind of alternating groups of Fraser fir and white pine. These would all be 10-foot planted height, and these would be backed by 10-foot high arborvitae, the quote-unquote green wall that the board was requesting. And continuing along to the west, again, there will be some instances here where we're looking at a 12-foot high arborvitae to provide additional screening from neighbors to the west. But this would be a 10-foot line of Fraser fir and white pine backed by either a 10-foot or a 12-foot high arborvitae.
Those are the deer-resistant type?
This specific type is, yes. Yes, when my LA asked that, I said there's no way the town is going to accept this because it's deer food, right? But he assures me that this specific variety is deer resistant. Any questions on the landscaping? All right. So, as David was saying, we did take a second look at the visibility from the west. So we're trying to differentiate between the different line of sights that we're going to go through today. The blue is where we identified lines where we're going to need taller trees to ensure full screening. We also identified with the green there the areas where we're going to be planting taller trees to accommodate that, to achieve that full screening. So we're going to start in the southwest, kind of work our way north along the western edge, and then east from there with the line of sights that we'll go through here. So, excuse me, this is J1, again the southwest of the site. At the board's request, we did extend the line of sight so that we're now including the existing residence on the profile itself. We have the existing trees to remain, both on the neighboring parcel and the 80 feet of existing vegetation that we're leaving in place on our side of the property line. We have a viewer at the property line, 6-foot eye height. And the double row of proposed trees, as well as the array and where the line does carry through to the far extents of the array, you'll see the proposed screening alongside the trail as well.
That's a quick question. That private property, is that the residence property?
That is the residence property, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so in oops, wrong way. So in this case, this is this property here.
Okay.
So you'll see the house is quite a distance from the property line itself. And so here's a place where we determined that with a 6-foot tall person standing at the property line, 10-foot height, 10-foot maximum height on the panel itself, that we would need a 12-foot high tree in order to ensure full screening. What we're also showing on here is an approximation of the growth rate. Like I said earlier, 1 to 2 feet per year for the Fraser fir and the white pine, and we're looking at 3 to 4 feet for the arborvitae. I did leave. I made that a little conservative, so the 15-year we didn't add. What would that be? We didn't add 45 feet. We wanted to be a little more conservative, so we capped that out at 50 feet max height. But you can see, even after 5 years, we're getting close to 30 feet height on the arborvitae and 20-foot height on the white pine or the Fraser fir. And I'll actually stop here and just say we didn't capture every single view along every single house along the line here. We're just showing you kind of the areas where we think we're going to need additional.
Worst case areas.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Worst case, yes. So this is J3. Again, we have the residence at the far extents on the left side here. And again, actually you can see kind of clearly on here, whereas on J1, it's kind of borderline at year one, the 10-foot height. You know, so in order to be a little conservative, we did elect to go with the 12-foot height there. For 3 on year 1, we would have been looking over the top of the trees potentially. So here's an area where the 12-foot height is going to be necessary to provide that full level of screening that the board was requesting. Moving along to 4. Again, house on the left, person at the property line. We were kind of borderline here on the 10-foot planting height. But just to be safe, we went with a 12-foot height on the green giant here. The green wall will provide full measure of screening for the 10-foot height of the panels here. And then more of the same here. This is actually J5, actually just the neighbor on J4. Again, a bit of a borderline here on the white pine and the Fraser fir, but with the 12-foot height, you can see we're fully screened on year 1. And moving along to 8, this is the first one where the view actually flips from looking downhill to looking uphill. But this is another case where the 10-foot height was borderline, so we did go with a 12-foot height to ensure full screening on day 1. Same reasoning for number J9. 10 should have cut it, but we're going to go with 12 just to be safe.
You guys really did your homework.
Yes.
So in all cases, in each one of these, you're showing that the property line where your project and the private property.
Yes.
There's a cluster or a forest of mature trees, I take it.
Yes, yeah. There's trees to remain on the neighboring side of the line.
In every one of these locations, it's similar.
I don't want to say everyone. In most cases, yes. But
yeah, when we walked it, it was heavily wooded.
Right.
And I think there were areas, especially as we went to the top of the hill, where we had concerns about residents being able to see it. But you guys really, again, this is what you need to see, off the cuff to kind of really, again, you understand the code, the way it's written, and what our objectives are here and what our goals are. And it is supposed to be, invisible, right? To the best extent we can.
Right.
I mean, nothing's perfect, but the way the code reads, you can't see it, right? That's the way it reads. I give your group a lot of credit. You dug into the weeds on this one.
yes, thank you. No, we heard you and we responded.
And just to add about the screening, remember that there's an 80-foot buffer of area that's going to be maintained, so or not removed, so that even though, depending on what's on the property line, the residential property line on their side, on the applicant side, 10-foot buffer, which originally was 20, it's been increased to 80, but all of that screening would remain as well. So this is in addition to that.
And a few years back, when the town was grappling with the tree code. Remember the duff and everything under the vegetative canopy, kind of they wanted to leave unfeathered unless there were invasives, and this kind of secures that too. So you got that buffer, and then with these profiles that really are telling, right? It looks like they answered the question on the screen.
Is there I'll call it long-term maintenance plan in case these shrubs that are intended to screen shouldn't take, or they die, or they do get eaten by deer or something like that? I mean, the goal is to screen forever.
I mean, we assume that your board would require some sort of condition like
Management
that.
plan,
Right,
yeah.
right. But that is, as part of the landscaping plan, the assumption was that there'd be maintenance and make sure that it stays. Yeah.
We've had a few applications, one recently and one some time back, where these vegetative areas are approved, and there is, the intent to have them, and it just has gone the wayside. I think with the focus on solar and the amount of solar we've seen up in Yorktown recently, there's a very heightened, sense about it. But really, I mean, these are great drawings. Really, really nice. Do you want to segue into?
But before we get there, just so procedurally, I think in the last meeting, there was a question as whether or not to schedule a public information session.
Yeah.
Happy to do that at this point.
Can we do that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we could set that up.
Okay.
Again, pending whatever goes, the direction the town board takes, obviously.
Right. And on that, if
Please.
So really what we wanted to focus on was the 200-foot setback, because what we're hoping that the drawings will show, particularly at this site, is that the operative mitigation is the planting. Like how much thought is put into the planting, where it's located, how tall it is, versus the location of the panels themselves. So a lot of these view sheds, for example, if you move the panels back, it's not going to matter as to whether or not you could see it from standing at that property line. If you've got a 12-foot tree there, it doesn't matter where it is, you won't be able to see it. If you don't have the 12-foot tree there, you're going to see it no matter where it is. The point we're making is that the setback itself is inoperable, but the impact on the potential feasibility of any project, if you double the setback, for example, for this project, they would lose about 1 megabyte or 26%, I said megabyte, megawatt, or 26% of, I need to get megabytes out of my email box, that was what I was thinking. Megawatt, or 26% of their output, which is a significant loss when you think about these types of projects, not only for New York State in trying to really incentivize this type of development. By the way, a 26% reduction, or one MB reduction, equals about $1 million loss of NYSERDA incentives or funding. But what it really does, regardless of the funding and the incentives, is it makes it a lot more challenging from a financial perspective to bring this type of development online, so that the landscaping plan, for example, couldn't be as robust as you're looking at it now, because it's going to be costly. 12-foot trees versus 6-foot trees it's costly. In addition, it may not necessarily result in less tree removal, because in order to make up that loss of efficiency, you got to have less shadows cast on the panels. So even if you had a 200-foot setback, people would be looking for areas where they would have lower trees or no trees, so that they can still make up some of that. So all of that being said, I think the policy behind the proposed amendments and the idea of how do we achieve the most reasonable but maximum practicable screening is looking at the landscaping itself, the height, where it's located, rather than setbacks. We will, of course, provide that information to the town board as well.
Yeah, that would all.
Right.
And on the whole solar thing, I mean, it really is, there's so many moving parts. You got the state with the mandates that are coming down about, you know, going electric, and then you got the removal of the trees, which doesn't help the situation. The locations of where these are gonna go and how they're screened. There's so many moving parts here. Has the state done a look at what's been accomplished so far to date? Of where that, you know, have they looked at where they are in their measured goal? Is it?
The state in,
New York.
their goal of
Yes.
megawatts?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have.
I mean, is there any way to get that information?
Oh, I'm sure there
And
is.
even with Westchester County, I don't think this is unique to Yorktown. This is everywhere, is, you know, it's just like the battery, which is on here later. You know, these are the things that are coming fast and furious here. I'm just curious, has Westchester County, as, you know, the umbrella over all of us, have they come up with any? Nothing.
Not that I know of, no. Do you know of anything, Robin?
I think the state probably has those numbers. They probably don't want to broadcast them because they're well behind the 70 by 2030, 70% by 2030, well behind. And that's why you're seeing a lot of incentives and a lot of push, not only in Yorktown, all over the Hudson Valley, but to bring
You know,
this type of.
It's like the county has a stormwater czar now, right? That's gonna be looking at, you know, the county and how they could look at, I would think with something like this, it's almost very similar, that, you know, because everybody's struggling with this. It's not just us. Well, we hear you, but that's gotta go to the.
I'm glad two of them are sitting in the room.
How many, remind me again, how many acres is this?
50? I'm sorry.
24 total in the project area, if you will, and I think the actual panels were like 10.
Jesus. 10 acres of
I think it was,
panel?
Nick, do you have one there? So 15 in the fence, or inside the buffer. Should have all the parties.
I gotta go back to when we had the latest, site plan, there we go.
The property itself is 50.
You know what, I thought I had that on the sheet. Apologies. I believe.
Actually, I believe inside the fence is 11 point, like 9 acres inside the fence. What I recall.
Yeah, 11 and a half acre array, so that would be within the fence.
The property is, okay.
About 21 acres of disturbance.
Okay. Thank you.
So guys, I just real quick, I just wanna, reiterate that we do have a moratorium in place. I know you know that, and you're proceeding at your own risk with the review and everything like that, right? So I just wanna make that clear once again for the record. But I seem to remember, and, John, disagrees with my memory, so I'm gonna have to go with him.
Our memories are disagreeing?
Yeah. So I thought you guys brought up the idea of going to a 200-foot setback. It wasn't you guys?
No, because in this case, it would severely harm the project financially.
I think it's been brought up multiple times in discussion.
I don't think an applicant, not only this applicant, an applicant's financial losses or gains should be considered by this board.
The point, though, the
That's
point what I'm
not our
making
problem.
is, no, the point what I'm making is, if you make something financially infeasible, then
You're gonna box out.
you're gonna
certain
box it out,
applications.
not just this application, but in general. And so the issue is, if you're looking for ways to achieve a laudable policy is to bring in solar and because of all the demand in New York State and in the US in general, the idea is not that, look, just put in a setback because it's going to achieve some sort of visual mitigation. It's not, and it'll have a downside. And it's a balance, right? Any mitigation.
I still don't think that should be considered by the board, by at least by me anyhow. You know, you go into a project knowing all the ramifications. So to say, oh geez, I'm gonna lose money on this, you gotta give me a break.
No, I think what the councilor's saying is, by the nature of the new zoning code, you won't see the applications come forward because it's
would
not
be,
advantageous. It's like building houses.
Wouldn't
You
be a
can put-
feasible,
Right.
feasible project. But again,
Right,
that
wrong, or
200-foot
indifferent,
setback
I
is.
think that's what he's saying.
Right.
It's just,
You're right.
he's just stating that it might push some, and again, I'm not sure if
So be
that's,
it.
yeah, well, that's.
I think the
that's-
concern comes from that this is essentially viewed as an industrial use. That 200-foot setback is being considered for residentially zoned areas.
Correct.
So,
And-
you know, maybe it's not the most appropriate place for it ultimately. And so maybe that 200-foot setback is the right limiting factor. You know?
But what I'm saying, and by virtue of what we've been looking at tonight, is that the 200-foot setback isn't operable. In other words, if the concern is, we want to make sure that if you bought a residence here, you wouldn't be able to see the panels.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you move them another 100 feet back or not is not the dispositive analysis. It's where would the screening be, and how sufficient would the screening be?
The further the screening away from the viewer, really, the less effective it is. If I'm standing in front of
Yeah.
a tree, you know, and as it moves away from you, the screening, in your view shed, it actually gets smaller, and, you know, in a certain regard, it is less effective.
So given that we're in a moratorium right now, and this project, as Sergio put it, is kind of at its own risk, what we're hearing is that if a 200-foot setback is the law, this project will go away.
Well, it is the law, isn't it, the law now, 200-foot setback?
I don't know, I think right now it's 100.
Yeah, and I agree,
It's 100 right now.
I agree with,
Proposing,
I agree with Willie that, you know, what happens to the project isn't really your concern.
Right, that-
No, I know.
Or the town board's concern for the
Right.
most part, and, you know, it's in some fashion. But what I hear is that how effective is it? What will you achieve by increasing the setback? Will it achieve anything? And I think there's questions about how much it will achieve, if anything.
Well, in terms of the
really think,
screening, right.
I really understand what they're getting at in terms of, as you move it farther away, does it really achieve anything? You know, your view shed of the size of the trees they get a little bit smaller, maybe even more difficult to screen it because you can't come closer to the viewer, really.
well, it's like this application and the work Nick, your group did, which really tells the story. Is that the solution, is to really push and see that this is screened? Because that's ultimately the goal, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's an interesting
No, I
Yeah, I
debate.
agree.
Yeah.
All right, to be continued.
Okay.
All right, so you work with Rob and get that set up for
Public
public information.
Okay.
If you could, just because I see you're here for Lavarge,
Yes.
I do have two guys in the back that are probably the last. If I could jump them in front of you real quick. I think they'll be quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I think we've got probably more questions for you than. All right, so I'm gonna jump
you.
and put, thank you, Counselor. We're gonna put,
Here's the property.
a town board referral next, 2291 Hickory Street.
So it's about
This is Penny Industries, Inc.
in this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Louis Penny, Penny Industries.
And what is it you're looking to do?
Got a one-family lot over on Hickory Street. It's one of the lots that have been forgotten forever. I'm just gonna build a single-family home on it. We have Board of Health. Most everything's in place. We're just waiting on some boards to give us the okay.
Dan's not around? John, any issues with this?
No. No. This is not on the corner of Hickory and Granite Springs, right?
No, it's not that lot. This is way up on the high side.
Yeah, we don't have any issues on it.
Counselor, anything on your end?
No, Mr. Chair.
So would it be appropriate that we just ask for a sign up from Dan and that
Yes,
he's
for a
right
letter.
with this?
Yeah.
And would it be a memo?
Yep.
All right?
Yep. Great.
All right, so just work with Dan Ciarcia and,
Yeah, we're just about done with that. That's why we're here.
okay,
Okay?
all right.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Take care. Take care, guys. Okay, next we have a town board referral. This is the residents at Lafarge. This is, looks like Joe Rena and Steinmetz.
No.
He's back.
We swapped the order.
Have you been up there lately?
I switched up a little bit just to.
Magnificent.
Keep you on your train.
This is the one that's up on Route 6.
Give the name of the street. It used to be Lady Cook Academy. They got a nice tower and they're building houses there, right?
Oh, I know, yeah.
They're already building houses there. They have houses built.
Which one?
On this property. This was the old, Lady Cook Academy.
How are you?
Good. Good to see you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Cooper, partner of the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz, here representing a member of the development team. Mr. David Steinmetz, the other David in the ZNS team, sends his regards. He's away this week, so I'm covering for him on this tonight.
Vacation again.
I'm not
No,
gonna
no,
say.
he's got a conflict. This is the Lafarge development. With me is Joe Rena from Site Design Consultants, who you know well, and Chris Raffanelli, the project architect. This is a proposal to rezone a property, 21.64 acres that's currently in the R120 to the RSP2, in connection with a proposal to develop a 144-unit active adult apartment complex. There would also be an on-site medical office amenity to residents. In other words, not a medical office where the public would come in and drive and park, but that where residents could see their doctors on site.
Residents
Of the apartment,
development?
yeah, the development.
It's not open to the outside?
That's our understanding.
Okay.
Again, we had an initial meeting with the town board earlier, I think in August. This is just an initial meeting, conceptual review, just to get their sense. The town board referred it over to your board for your comments as well. So this is really at a conceptual stage at this point, getting feedback from the town board and your board as well. Let me turn it over to Joe to go through the concept plan and then be able to answer any questions you may have at this stage.
Let me just, while you're up there, was this the site, the solar site?
Formally, yes, right?
It was, so that solar site is now,
Yeah, they didn't pursue an option.
yeah, we haven't heard from them in,
Owner, so that's open.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Joseph Rena, Site Design Consultants. So the site is located on Route 6 in Mohegan. The property is frontage on Route 6. This is the, which is now the brewery. It was formerly the winery, which was formerly church. So it has frontage here at this location here. It has frontage on Strawberry up on this back northwest corner of the property. And there's also another 50-foot right-of-way which goes in between these two homes here on Strawberry. To the east, I'm sorry, to the west of this property is the Fieldstone Manor project that's being built by Bill Gattucci. And altogether, it's 21.6 acres, and it's currently zoned R120, which requires normally would require half-acre density lots. At one time, back in the 90s, we did a proposal on this for that. There was another health senior living or senior care facility that was once proposed on this, as well as the solar application. Along the western edge of the property, you could see there's a wetland line, which was delineated by Steve Marino to Miller Associates. The yellow area that's hatched here, that is the buffer area from that wetland. There is a county sewer line which runs through the property. Town sewer line which runs through the property, comes through here, and makes its way down, back down to Route 6. As you can see, property slopes up from Route 6 to the northeast corner of the property. It's steeper as you are along Route 6, and it gets a little more moderately sloped at the top in this area here. So the proposal is to construct a facility for 144 units. They're going to be apartment-style units, and Chris will explain that a little more and give you some, show you his plans, view of the buildings and the facilities. So the access road, for the most part, follows an existing driveway. Oh, I should have mentioned there's an existing abandoned residence on the property, which is right here.
We were up there.
Yeah.
We extensively walked this site.
So you know it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the driveway that goes up there, that's currently where what we're following with, for the new driveway for this project. So as you can see, the driveway comes up, loops around the facility. The 144 units are broken into 3 buildings with parking underneath. There will be some on-site overflow parking for visitors and additional parking as needed. In the center here, there is the common facility, which will provide both amenities for the residents, as well as the healthcare component, where doctors and other health professionals will come onto the site and rotate through, providing options for the residents to make an appointment and see someone right on site, as well as in-house care, where the residents can request someone coming right directly to their unit.
And that's that metal building?
That's the center building right here. Yeah.
So the 3 outlying buildings are the residences?
Correct.
And then the building in the middle there is medical services for those residents?
Medical service, and also recreational amenities, rooms for meetings, exercise programs, so on and so forth.
So anything relating to the wellness of that community right there?
Correct, and recreation also, and, they if they have a Mahjong club, they can meet there or whatever.
Pickleball?
Yeah, not in there, no.
But this should not be considered assisted living.
It is not considered assisted living. It's active senior. So, as this drive or roadway branches off to the left here, again, parking underneath, this building will be serviced from this location, this building will be serviced from this location, and the topography lends itself to that, to have the parking underneath, so that's why we built that into this, and it also eliminates a lot of surface area for pavement. Once you get beyond this, this would be a emergency connection, a gated emergency connection out to Strawberry Road. As part of this, we've accounted for, so you can see this a right-of-way right here, an 80-foot right-of-way, which, if you recall, extends from the Fieldstone Manor property as a potential future connector road from Lexington Avenue out to Route 6. So we've made a proviso for that here, where this section of roadway and continuing down could at some point can facilitate a connector road if it's ever decided to go that route. You can see we show some stormwater areas here. This is all preliminary, all conceptual. There's a lot of engineering that has to be done to get this down the road at this point. But for now, this is the concept that's being forwarded.
So, this might be more towards Counselor. in our effort, and we've heard it as applications have come in, you know, your town's looking for this diversity of housing. Where does this fit into that? So it's active senior living, so there's no children on site, right?
That's correct.
Are these 1 or 2 bedroom, or are they, you know?
Has that been, is the bedroom count been?
We have a rough mix.
So there's a mix of housing, and those people are all on their own. There's no, you know, you don't need constant care, anything like that.
If, in order for, and not this development itself, but any development to be independent living or assisted living, there's certain licensure that you would need from the state.
Right.
This is not one of those applications, like an assisted living, senior living facility. This is an apartment living complex as age restricted.
So that unit in the middle where there'd be doctors, do they work for the development, or is it?
My bet is that hasn't been vetted out yet, but I don't think that's how it would work. I think it would be an offer for a resident to be able to have either their medical provider to go there, or there would be some sort of arrangement with the owner as to which providers would rent space there. But it wouldn't, the purpose is not for it to be a public, another medical office where anybody could go.
So if I'm in a wheelchair and it's tough for me to get around, and I want my, what they used to call house visits, I guess. The thought is that the doctor would come to this facility and, you know, evaluate the patient or the resident?
That's correct. I think the fact of the matter is that house visits have kind of fallen by the wayside. It's not something, and so.
Everything's telehealth now.
Right, telehealth, or, you know, hoping that your doctor will be in the office that's closest to you
Right.
on the day that you're available, as opposed to other offices. I think that's just the nature of healthcare in the US at this point. So it's a different.
It's a different
right,
concept.
yeah.
Is there anything like this around?
I don't believe so.
It's something, it's a growing concept. I can't speak to it with a lot of knowledge. And unfortunately, Mike Orfici, the owner's rep, couldn't be here. He's very knowledgeable about this, and he does a lot of these facilities, and they're popping up in this region. And it's a new concept, and it kind of makes a lot of sense, especially the aspect where they'll actually do a house visit here if someone is immobile and can't get out of their apartment.
So it's not going to be staffed full-time there with doctors?
No, it's, the doctors are gonna, you know, let's say on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so-and-so might be there, or a dentist might be there, or, you know, a heart specialist
So
might be there.
you got to get everybody to
so-and-so.
sign into that one healthcare provider.
Not necessarily. They're free not to. They're free to go off-site and go to whoever they want to go. This is more something, a concept where it's provided, you know, and it makes a lot of sense where seniors may like this idea of coming onto the site and then having their doctors come onto the site, or having a doctor come onto the site that they could see and not leave, get in a car and leave, or have someone drive them.
Well, I think of my own father when he was still around. You know, he had struggles at the end. He was not mobile, and the doctor's appointments were fast and furious. So this concept, he could live on site, he could be on his own, and any care he needs could come to him, in theory.
In theory, right. But it depends on what what level of care the person needs.
You might have a masseuse in there one day, you might have someone doing Tai Chi classes, a dentist, an eye doctor.
And it could, and you'll see when Chris does his presentation, it's not just one space where a visitation room. There's multiple, so you can have multiple professionals there at one time. So they would be an outside provider, right, and health provider, and there would be some kind of arrangement made with the facility, and certain days they may come in. They may come in, you know, once a week or twice a week, or whatever it may be.
But at no point would you know, if I decided I wanted to show up there and get my eyes checked, that's not,
That's not the point. It's not gonna be like a docks or something like that.
just on site.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very good. It's terrific.
So you would have like a relationship with Optum, and they would like have doctors?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know how they would set that up, or it could be independent. But these days, there aren't that many independent doctors, but
No,
it could be
there aren't.
something like that, sure.
No, because only, I mean, I struggle with the concept that, you know, a doctor is going to take time from having an office where he can see anybody to come on site where there are 100 people that could potentially book an appointment.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just doesn't.
It could be just like,
Scratching my head with
it
it.
could be, like I said, Optum is involved, and they have someone or a set of doctors that rotate through.
And so there's going to be a presentation.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's an interesting model. Again, I'm not sure if it's working.
I certainly would like to see it work.
I mean, the reason they have all these urgent cares and everything is because the hospitals are now so expensive, right? Their insurances and everything else. So they have, like White Plains Hospital, they have urgent cares all over the place, right? It's just simpler, quicker, and I think it's cheaper to go.
Not only that, but if you belong to, like, say, I'm just saying Optum, you go to one doctor, he's in Timbuktu, the other guy's in Tibet, you're traveling hours, and you have sick, you only wish you could get it over with. This concept would be great. I walk out of my house, I got my physician.
It's very interesting. It
I don't
really
know,
is.
Tibet might be therapeutic in and of itself.
Right, that's, but I think that is, I mean, that is the point.
It's a bad, I feel great.
You see that more often now, where, you know, your doctor will be assigned to, you know, the Yorktown office on one day, but then he's down in White Plains the next day, or she's down in White Plains the next day, and it's all over the place. This hopefully would cut down on that for people that need it the most, right? Because could be a good market for whatever doctor wants to be in.
Of course.
Yeah.
What is, and Joe, this will be more towards you, what is the thought on vehicles? And, I mean, is this, you're not planning on people going there and not going off-site? You'll have parking appropriate to the unit count, or?
Right, I mean, we're gonna have at least one space per unit. That's the plan.
Yeah. It's
And
very interesting.
Yeah, and this is not like, if you remember the Field Home project, this is not like that, where we had the independent living and we had all those on-site amenities.
Yeah.
That was like a permanent part of that project. This is where, again, the doctors are not gonna be permanently, they're gonna be rotate through, they're not associated with the ownership.
And I understand the owner couldn't be here tonight, but are they gonna be here at some point to go through their model?
Yeah, we could do that. We could definitely arrange for that. Yeah.
That's very, very interesting.
Okay, yeah, we'll set that up.
How you doing?
Good evening, Chris Raffaelli with Studio Architecture. So we have 3 buildings proposed for the residences. 2 of them, let me get this mouse in order here. So these 2 here at the top are the same building, they're mirrored. And then the third one down here is slightly different. So we have 3 buildings with 3 floors of residences over parking. Each of the 2 similar buildings, the 2 mirrored ones, are just a tick under 60,000 square feet. The other one by itself is about 68,000 square feet. And the total of the 3 units comprise of 144 units. Those units range in size from 750 to about 1,250 square feet each. And the configurations vary from a single bedroom, single bath, to a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath with a den. So, and they're scattered. The mix is probably about the same in each one of the buildings on the unit types. Each building will have a common entrance with an elevator and stairwells flanking the ends to each of the floors. The centerpiece here, the Wellness Center down here, let's see if I can zoom in, Joe. Trying to to find an enlargement of the wellness center. How do I zoom? Just want to zoom into the wellness center.
Oh, here it is, at the end. It's A600.
So the wellness center is a little under 10,000 square feet, and as Joe was mentioning, that will house some of the medical offices, recreational facilities, transportation coordinators, administrators, that sort of, thank you, that sort of function. So around the perimeter here would be the medical type offices. Some of these are just property admin, property management. There'll be a transportation coordinator to provide shuttle on and off the campus, open recreational center. So this is the single-story wellness center without parking underneath it. Parking for it is adjacent to it.
Sounds good. Well, I tell you.
Elevations.
Is the quiet room an area where someone like Joe would go if he gets in trouble? Like during
This is
activities?
permanent stay, yeah, right there.
This is very, very interesting.
Yeah, so here's the elevations, first blush of the Wellness Center, single-story building. Elevations of the buildings, they'll carry the same sort of design. Each unit will either have a patio or a balcony. Here we go. So here's sort of the campus. The small building here in the middle is the Wellness Center, flanked by the other buildings.
I'm sure you already said this, but this is purchase to own, not rent?
That's right.
Rentals? Okay.
And the office space is going to be for the doctors, that would be rented to the doctors?
I'm not sure of those.
The way it's set up here, I mean, it's like a, I don't know how you'd explain it. There's cooking services online, right, in this building. So it looks like you have a cafeteria, there's an activity area, there's a nutrition counseling, there's a marketing office, outreach office, transportation office, employee lounge, physical therapy, again, the quiet area for Joe, exercise area, and a few, I mean, it really is very, very interesting. Looks like there's a waiting area outside.
It sounds like a college dormitory.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like the,
Everything you got is right here. You don't have to go nowhere.
They had the bar.
there's no bar, though. Huh? You put that in there, you're gonna have trouble. Do you have any layouts of what the rooms look like?
There are very well, not with furniture and things like that.
Yeah.
There's just general configuration. That's these colored boxes here.
And
Each
how
one
mu-
of the colors is a different unit.
How many square feet for each of these units?
It ranges depending on its configuration from 750 to 1250.
Jesus, my first house was 800 square feet, and I thought it was enough house.
Very interesting.
Let's let them go with it.
You got any thoughts?
No, it's in the conceptual stage, so I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of work to be done, but, at this point, I don't have anything to add other than stuff that's already been brought up.
We can agree on a concept.
So what's
I'd
the
like
town,
to see
what's the
more.
town board looking for? I mean, this is a referral, right? So is it a rezoning? Is it,
I think it
Well,
needs
I think they're looking for your opinion on this type of use on this type of property and the impacts that it will bring to the area.
Well, we've really walked the property. Again,
We did.
any application like this, I think really you want to make sure it doesn't impact the Strawberry Road, which is a heavily traveled road.
well, that's only emergency access. I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah,
the
but that's
issue is
what-
traffic
That
on,
could be done through
traffic on
screening
Route
and-
6.
Well, that's the thing.
You got 140 residences.
Traffic on Route 6,
Yeah.
how you get in and out, and that particular section is a dangerous section. So there's been a fatality there in the past.
That's gonna be on Joe.
Right. So, you know, for instance, as painful as it may be better to have them ingress and egress from Strawberry Road. You know, those are the kinds of things that need to be talked about through the review process.
Well, I think we also need to see some kind of, I guess, business plan to see exactly, you know, what the intent of, you know, it's very interesting, but to really dig into the weeds. And then,
We could give them the concept, agreement on the concept.
Right, at this point, I was catching up on it, being the pinch hitter on tonight, but I was just catching up on it from Joe. At this point, I think the applicant is just, it's not even an applicant, but just the owner is just looking for a general direction. Is this something that the town would be interested in entertaining? Then we would dive into those weeds to marketing, traffic, you know, everything from secret all the way through.
traffic's gonna be,
Yeah.
I mean, I think for the diversity of housing that Yorktown's trying to achieve, right? And again, we heard that when Unicorn came in, seems like every application that comes in, they keep talking about, you know, what's affordable, what's not. I mean, it was just, I saw something on Channel 12 News a few weeks ago about the median cost of a house in Westchester County. If I'm not mistaken, was way over $1 million for the middle of the line. So something like this where, you know, you want your seniors to be able to live in place and, you know, I mean, it sounds like it would fit right into the comp plan and
Oh, for sure.
be appropriate. So, I mean, I
Absolutely.
would love to see more.
Yep. Good. Give them the concept. Okay, great.
All right.
Do we get a vote of which attorney comes back next time?
It depends. Who are you going to send to the quiet room?
Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you
Good-
very
yes,
much.
yep.
Thank you.
All right, we do have in front of us 3 other town board referrals. At this time, you know, especially with everything we've been talking about, you know, one of them is the recycling facilities, which I think we really got to look at a little bit harder. The solar law and now the battery storage. Again, with the latter two, I you know, especially in Westchester County now with Mayapack or in Putnam Valley, they put a moratorium in place. You're starting to see these moratoriums pop up all over the place, because obviously there's a very high concern about these. Again, I think there's a bigger umbrella that maybe Westchester County needs to get involved in. Just as one member of the board, I really want to dig into this a little bit more. There's also 2 members that aren't here tonight, so it might be appropriate just to table that. I don't know when you guys are looking for information.
I mean, as far as the solar law, the moratorium is coming, the current moratorium is coming to an end on September 30th.
So, I mean, that gives
They're gonna
us,
have to extend, they're gonna have to extend it.
Yeah, we'll have to, hold on a second, yeah, we'll, you know, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you're gonna have to extend it because you can't get the law, any
Yeah, it
amendments in
won't
place
happen
by that
anyway.
time.
but, and look to the other members, you think it would be appropriate, especially with 2 missing tonight? I think this is something that
I
really.
agree. We have to have a full board.
But I think we also gotta dig into the weeds on these things.
Yeah.
You know, and like what we talked about earlier with screening and the intent to screening, you don't wanna do something and have to redo it again. And I would be very interested to hear, you know, one, New York State, where their numbers are in reference to solar, Westchester County, planning, if they're, you know, I know Norma Drummond retired, so there's a whole new team there. You know, if they've got any ideas about where they see the county moving forward with this, because it is everywhere. But I think it would just be smart to really take a deep dive on this before we give any memos, if that seems appropriate.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Look, we value your opinion at the town board level, so.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys do an awesome job. And if you need to take more time on it, then so be it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would suggest you don't let the solar moratorium run out.
I don't think we're gonna let that happen.
No, you extend it while we do our research.
Sure.
I just think.
Well, to John Tegater's point, I mean, there's not enough time now anyway, so.
Yeah.
I just think you want to get it right. And there's just so many moving parts to look at for this.
So
All right.
you're, on those two, you're looking to bounce them around a little?
Yeah, and even the recycling thing, I think that's just something where we really gotta see what, dig into the weeds on, if that would be all right.
I agree.
All right?
But in the meantime,
Yeah, they gotta do what they gotta do.
yeah, right.
All right, and I did make one error amongst many tonight with the protocol here. So I do wanna open a special session again, if I could.
Motion.
Is there a second? All right, so in reference to the grillage, first, we have to make our intent to be lead agency. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Declared lead agency.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we had the neck tag in front of us. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then we had the resolution approving the preliminary subdivision layout for the grillage subdivision.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Do I have a motion to close the special meeting?
Motion to close. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Appreciate your patience.